now we've done all this sort of work, right? Gone through all sorts of paperwork, all sorts of things, of process, creating documents, contracts, et cetera, et cetera. Now it's finally time to put it out there.
Absolutely. This is where it gets interesting, right? And you know, and we live in different times over the years. You know, I remember putting an ad up in a paper, for example, and get 300, 400 applications to a few years ago, where you only get a few people applying. So it depends on the year. It depends on the economic situation
where you live,
yeah,
how you live, all this sort of thing.
So when you're advertising, you know, it's really important to be able to describe the position.
Yes.
Right. You know, and what is the qualifications you're looking for. Keep it simple. Keep it easy to understand. Keep it in plain language. Don't do anything complicated. Yeah. So you know, get the description down. The next thing you flip to the next one is, you know, when does the job begin? You know, the days and hours of work. You know, if you have lots of shifts to cover, you could be putting in there, please let us know your availability, right? So that you can get an idea of people's availability. Right. Some people are available 7 days a week. That may be somebody you want to narrow in on, like, you know, if somebody's only available Monday, Wednesday, Friday, does that fit into what you need?
Good points, yeah.
You know, the general location
where they live,
of where they live. Yep. Where you live, really, actually. So,
where you both live, because you don't want to be living, say, in Horseshoe Bay, and the other person lives in Abbotsford.
Exactly. So yeah, and, you know, yeah. If the commute is over an hour away, I think that you know, depending again what kind of shift you have. If you're doing a 24-hour shift, maybe it's not so bad, right? But you know, if you're talking just a few hours and stuff, is that going to be really? Yeah. Should you be looking at that resume? Yeah, right. And we're going to talk about that more here too. You know, again, in the advertising, you know, so you could ask for the resume, for them to send their resume, you know, their contact information. Make sure you have your contact information to how you want them to contact you, either by email, by telephone. These days, email is probably one of the best ways to do it, so you don't get your phone's going to ring off the hook, right? Yep. You know, telling people really about your personality needs to come out a little bit. Why is your ad sticking out over someone else's ad, right? Kind of thing.
One thing you mentioned briefly, you know, is today with a different technology, there are a lot of different ways for a person to present this. Really interesting, totally off topic. Someone sent in their resume for a job, and they stuck it to the front of a six-pack beer, and they hand-delivered that to the place that they wanted. I mean,
well, their resume got looked at.
They got looked at.
They got looked at. Yeah, for sure.
Regardless if they got, you know, I mean, but
there are a lot of that. Yeah. That's for that.
So I saw that on Facebook. It was one of those things that I thought, wow, that's a different way of doing it.
So really trying to get what's important about the job. You know, if they have to have a driver's license, you might as well say it right into the ad, right?
Exactly.
Get right into the key points. If cooking's your most important, throw it in there, right? Yeah. So that people know what they're applying for. Wage expectations should also be there as well. I don't see it there, but wage expectations should be there. Because I think that, you know, if you do a 24-hour live-in and you're doing X number of dollars for 24 hours, you know, you might as well know if that person's interested in doing that right off the bat. If they're not prepared to do it, then you don't want to waste your time. Good point.
Yeah. So the next two slides are basically what we have as a short example of an ad and a longer example. So here's a very short one, something that you would see in the Vancouver Sun, for example, or the Citizen up in Prince George. You know, you're limited in space. You're limited to the amount of characters that you're allowed to put into a particular paper ad. Not necessarily the case with something that you might see on a website here. So here's a longer example easier, provides a little bit more information. The person who's reading it has a better understanding of what the job is all about versus this one, but this one is, trying to get some bites also. So there are different ways of doing it.
And again, you really do have to keep in mind that the person that's going through all the ads and stuff are looking at hundreds and hundreds of them, Fernando. And, if you make yours interesting, then you should be able to get an interesting response too. Because otherwise you'll just get here's my resume, yes, right? Which doesn't give you any information, right? There's so many people out there that help you do resumes these days. The resumes all look great.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah.
So I actually personally, in my advertisements usually, say, tell me about yourself. Tell me anything that you want about yourself. So you're not asking them specific. You're asking them to tell you something about yourself. When you ask about their availability, if you ask them, if there's a couple of questions that you can ask, first of all, half of them won't answer those questions because they're not really reading, they're just applying, right? And that tells you something about someone as well, right? I mean, everything is going to give you an indication about the employee, and you need to take advantage of that, right? And to think about that. So somebody that takes the time to answer your questions, to tell you their availability. Because even when I just ask that simple question, please make a note of when your availability is. If they don't do it, I don't go to theirs right away. I come back maybe if I'm stuck.
Yep.
If I can't find someone, I go back to the ones that maybe not, right? But I want to go with the people that actually answered my questions first, right?
That's a good point.
And I think, we're going to get talking about the phone call and stuff and the importance of the phone call. But let's go next to where to look for someone. And this is just a very, very small list of the non-paid websites. So, I mean, there's a lot more out there, right? But, these are the popular ones, right? Craigslist, Kijiji, PC Jobs, Canada Job Bank, Workopolis, right? So those are kind of the popular ones. Paid websites, there's Monster.ca, but there's a number of other ones nowadays that are out there, even nonprofit ones that are available. Definitely look at the Individualized Funding Resource Center.
Share a little bit more about what's going on.
So with the Individualized Funding Resource Center, we provide recruitment facilitation. And what does that mean is we actually do the recruiting for you in regards to weeding out the resumes. So we actually have a list of employees that we've either interviewed, done phone calls with, kind of got an idea of their personality, what their skills are, so that instead of you going through hundreds of the applications, we can give you 5 that are really at your skills that you're interested in. So, for the recruitment facilitation component, to really make things simple.
And part of what you guys are also doing is moving on to the next point, other CSIL.
Absolutely. Other CSIL employers. What we hope to do as the resource center is to be able to develop peer networks and to be able to, throughout the province, have little groups that are meeting, that are CSIL employers, that can share information with one another and just brainstorm and talk about issues and topics about the things that we've been discussing over the last few weeks. It'd be nice to actually just have a group that just talks about one area, right, and just brainstorm together. And it's amazing when you get a group of CSIL employers together how you can kind of conquer the world, really. So I've really enjoyed those over the years, doing those kinds of sessions. Support Worker Central is another website that is available now. BC Care Aid Registry, and of course word of mouth.
Yes.
Word of mouth is really strong, and you know what is word of mouth. I don't know how many times that I've been at a grocery store and I've been in a lineup, and I'm just talking to somebody, and I find out they're looking for work or whatever. It's incredible how you can kind of make contacts with people, or you just tell people, hey, look, I'm looking for personal assistant. You know anybody. It's amazing how somebody knows somebody, right? So other places to post things like the nursing school program, college and universities, the building where you live, a very important one actually, because that imagine if you can find someone in your building, that might be willing to do even an overnight shift.
Yep.
Right? Can you imagine setting them up with a cell phone and you just kind of push a bell and you push a button on your bed and they come down to do the rollover?
Yeah.
Right? What a great setup. We've heard lots of people who've successful.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Church communities, public libraries, other public shops in your neighborhood. So those are just some areas that you can start thinking about. But just think about your community and what's around. And
yeah, good points on some of those. I mean, especially you mentioned if you're going to close to your community, try there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, instead of trying to go far and broad.
Yeah, absolutely.